guys, you need to protect your dateability. I'm serious. So if you vote for baby Donald Dump at this time in history, with women's rights on the line, what's going to happen is this is going to be used against you as a filter. Seriously, I'm serious. As a filter as to whether a woman is going to bother to get to know you and see if you're dateable. It's actually that real. I mean, I thought I was just like, feeling that way myself, and I was using that as a filter for, getting rid of all the men who don't have dateable qualities, don't respect women enough, and on and on. And then I heard on NPR yesterday a whole interview of a guy who was talking about 50 women who rejected him on dating sites after, even when it was going well, but after they found out he had voted for Dump in the last election. Why is this? It's because voting for him, standing for him, goes against everything that women, at least really feminine women, stand for. So, maybe a woman is super masculine and she just cares about, being tough and most women, though, were just not identified with the values of such a cruel man. And so what we see is this sort of ignorant selfishness, and moronic following like a sheep. So we want a man who can think for himself, who's a leader in his own right, and who's thinking about being a champion for the causes of helping the world. And you might be like, come on, Eve, won't a woman forgive me? In the end, aren't they a little bit tolerant? And it's like, no, you're not worth our time. It's too much to educate you on. It's way too much work to years and years of our feminine perspective being about, I want to help this world. And then a guy who's spent so many years down the rabbit holes of hindering the world, and selfishness is just about male-centric thinking. So what are some of the things that us women think about, you guys? Well, if we see that the guy has voted for Trump, what we have a really long list of what that means to us. So it's for one, impervious to the suffering of others; two, ignorant of women's needs, causes, and values; susceptible to false news and QAnon. Can't tell the difference. So he's easily triggered, easily volatile. You don't think for yourself. So if he's easily triggered and easily volatile about his, I don't want immigrants to take my job and all this, then it means he's a drama king, prone to rage fits and irrational conclusions based on his own, disgruntled feeling about his own life, and not taking responsibility for making his own life better, blaming everybody else. So he's actually in victim mentality. He's unwilling to really stand up and fight for anything and change anything with the union. And he's also unwilling to face real events, like the real atrocities in this country that do have to be faced, because he doesn't want to be, the way our ancestry, many white Americans are involved with so many genocides, of the burning of all the women and as witches, and the genocide of Native Americans, and the enslavement of people from Africa. He doesn't want to face any culpability in that in present times. So that makes him entitled, and when a guy is entitled, it's kind of like everything should be on his terms, he thinks. So that means if you're with an entitled guy and you're a woman and you have needs and you disagree, well, then he is going to actually completely ignore you, put you down, and just do his own thing no matter what you say. So now we come to also, if a guy votes for Trump, we tend to see those men as delusional and also afraid of women's power, since in both cases they were great women with incredible talent, more talent than and experience than any president usually ever has. What, Obama was a senator? I mean, Hillary Clinton had done every job in the entire book, practically in government, and same with, Kamala Harris coming in with so much experience. So he's afraid of women's power if he's not going to vote for the woman who's way more qualified and way more heartfelt in terms of the agenda. So now we see him as patriarchal, lost in time, back in space, where he still thinks he shouldn't share power, and that somehow sharing power with women is jeopardizes his masculinity. So now we see that, his masculinity is actually based on something really, really false. Like, it's not coming from his true core. It's coming from things like trucks, motorcycles, clothes he wears, fishing poles, a big boat. Like, he doesn't have a real masculine sense of self-worth. Now, the main thing that we see, though, is after all this evidence of a cruel guy trying to take over our country with an insurrection and hating on every single person, no matter who helps him or joins him, he still hates on people. It's so obvious, the character of Trump. So what women see then is, this guy, he's not willing to be influenced by women and our wisdom and by objective reality. He's in a subjective reality that's all about polls and the past and all the fake news and Fox News that he's reading. He's not subjectively feeling anything. And women, we need a guy, if we're gonna join somebody and let them into our lives, if he doesn't listen to our subjective truths, how we know from our instinct in our heart when something's mean or kind, when we can instinctually trust a medicine or really don't feel good about it for ourselves or our bodies. If you're with a guy who doesn't actually allow for objective knowing in any case, it means he's always in his head, and he can't even be in the present moment because he's got to go through a book or somebody else, which also means he doesn't have a direct connection to knowing. His connection's always got to be through an authority, through some expert, and that means he will completely deny a woman's truth or needs or requests, because he'll be like, well, you're not an expert, I'm going to the experts, which, by the way, is a really nightmare to have as a boyfriend. It's no fun. It means no matter what you want to do, if you want to paint your room a beautiful color, or he won't be able to join the feminine joy or interests or feelings. And I'm not saying feelings without facts. Of course, we want facts, but then on the other hand, because he's lazy, if he's going for Trump, it means he's lazy because he's not really watching news. Because if he was really watching news, really reading papers, really reading history and how the playbook goes for people who are fascists and how he's using the Nazi playbook, well, that means that he's so lazy and entitled in terms of what he thinks is true, that his truth is God and what he sees is just the way it is, that there's no room for being in the present or growth or conversation. And that's a really big deal for women dating a guy, is, does the guy converse? Can he actually ask a question, listen to the answer, go back and forth, banter ideas, and accept a woman having different ideas from him? But mainly, can he let himself be influenced? Because the Gottman's most famous couples counselors team in the world, they do thousands and thousands of interviews, and what they found categorically, all the relationships that work, all of the marriages that actually are happy and thriving, they are ones in which the man is willing to be influenced by the woman, by the feminine. Okay, so the other thing we tend to think is, oh my God, is he really IQ? Like, how could the guy follow such a sinister, and babyish and pathological liar as Trump? Well, so does that mean he's really low IQ? Like, And also, does this guy who's trying to date me, is he actually identified with this rapist, misogynist, sexual predator as macho, masculine? Like why? You know? So then we see the guy's dangerous, and we don't want to date him. And we also see, like, we're seeing the big picture of the planet and climate change and all the people in jail who shouldn't be there, like millions and millions of men and women of color in a jail system that is actually for profit, and, you know, a small percentage need to be there. And we want to overhaul things. We want to overhaul the whole system so that, you know, how many people went to jail for marijuana? Now marijuana is legal. There's tons of things like that because we haven't had enough prosecutors and fair trials for all these people in jail. Many of them didn't have the money to have their trials, so they're not even supposed to be there. So this kind of thing, and you know, like border patrol, but also like support for women and our rights to have right to our body, right to vote, being taken away. And then the guy's lazy, sitting on the couch, still voting for baby Trump at this point, when women have lost what we've fought for hundreds of years, to simply have our voices count and our right to our own bodies. Like the laziness factor, the complete it's not just laziness, it's like apathy. It's worse than apathy. It's like indifference. You know, we don't want to date a guy like that, because like we have to invest so much time and energy when we vote for a guy, when we date a guy, because, you know, our bodies are involved. He's going to invade our body. Now, we don't want it to be an invasion. We want it to be an immersion, for an inclusion, you know, embracing of the love. But look, there's so much fallout from that. So many emotional things come up, and insecurity issues. And if the guy already is showing identification with the most racist, hateful candidate that's ever come into play, well, racism is very close to sexism. It's right on the margin of how men feel about women, because if they're hateful towards people of color, they're usually very, very controlling about women, and hateful towards women also. And we know this connection because women are the oppressed ones all over the world, in every culture. And so I know this sounds extreme, right? But this guy on NPR, he had tried dating 50 different women. He was hitting them off with each one of them one by one. And the moment they found out he was voting for Trump, or had voted, that was it. They're like, okay, we have nothing in common. I don't want to spend any more time on you. It's over. And I'm one of those women. Like, I actually just use that as a first question now, because as soon as I find that out, I know that the disparity between being with a man who's a champion for me and the world, and who wants to join me in the mission of making a difference, and a guy who has let himself be so deluded, and who has, even if, like this guy on the NPR station, he had grown up as a Republican. Okay, so he's just used to doing that. He's like not thinking about it. He's like, well, but he's researching along the way. He sees what's happening, and he's still voting for the guy. So that would also mean he's tied into family karma, or mommy's and daddy's belief system, in such a way that he doesn't even have the presence of mind to break free of ancient karma and actually become like, whoa, we're making this story. So he's not even proactive. He's not even somebody you could join with and say, we're gonna make our lives a certain way. He's this kind of status quo guy that just takes everything as is, and feels kind of like a victim, and feels kind of angry for what he's been dealt, and doesn't see democracy as an evolving story that we can all join in on together. Doesn't have hope, doesn't have belief, doesn't have a faith in the goodness of each other. Oh my God. So I tried to say that really, really fast because the election day is tomorrow, and I don't want you to have your whole life categorized by this one moment of you're not understanding the intensity and the importance of this particular election, more than any others. I'm looking to see, what else did I write for you? Well, do the work yourself. I mean, because that's the other thing. You might be like, oh, come on, Eve, won't the women forgive me? Won't they just take it like, that was just something I voted for? I'm just like, no, actually, the thing is, the way the women see it is you're too much work. You're like, well, won't they just educate me and let me know? No, it's too much time to educate you. You have been lazy for so long to miss this entire story. All the way back to Hillary Clinton, who was so incredibly ready to help this country, and before that, when Al Gore, the election was stolen from him by the Supreme Court, when they decided not to count all of the votes, and you didn't stand up, you didn't even notice. Actually, guys like you, many of the guys I knew anyway, at the time, who were, very entitled about their businesses and their money. They're like, there's no difference between the candidates. There's no difference at all. Don't even bother voting for Al Gore. Who cares if it's Bush? Well, it was such a huge difference back then because Al Gore was a climate change activist to the core. And that was 30 years ago. We would be so ahead right now in terms of all the disasters and the millions of lives lost if we had, protested when the news stations proclaimed, proclaimed that Bush was the winner when he wasn't yet. And then that snowballed, and then we didn't press in to say, just wait and count the votes. So we weren't even on it then. So the story is really long. And when you say it doesn't matter who is in there, it is so huge who's in there, because a women's rights have been taken away under Baby Dump. Baby Donald Trump took away women's rights. That's a huge difference between a woman coming in and empowering women and citizens and unions. That is a lie. That the whole thing about it doesn't matter who the candidate is put out by whatever party feels they won't win in order to get more people not to vote. And it's usually Republicans, because the way the Electoral College is, done, it actually favors them, but it also is unfairly set up for Democrats, because, for all those reasons. So that party will always put out this thing. So there's no difference between the candidates to get you not to feel passionate, not to vote. So do the work yourself. Would you freaking just do the work? Don't make the women try to fix you, help you, educate you. You've got to catch up, guys. And even in colleges now, women are excelling and the men are dropping out. That's because you guys haven't gone through your rite of passage or your initiation to just go, I matter. My voice matters. All this negativity is toxic. And all of this disbelief in anything beautiful is not true. It's not true. This is a beautiful world full of beautiful people, and you're one of them. But look, just vote for Kamala Harris right now so that you don't have to have this loom over you the rest of your life. You're going to thank me. You will thank me for warning you. You don't need to be that guy. Just trust us. Trust me. Just trust me right now. You will thank me. You will be writing to me in a few years from now. You'll be like, Eve, thank God I voted for Kamala Harris, even though I didn't even know why I was doing it or what it was all about. And then I researched, and then I saw what she did and what he had done, and what history showed about her history. And now I can see I want to be part of this loving story with womanity. Okay, let's do it. Let's go vote. You got me going now, lay it on. Let me consume you till the dawn. Rise with me out of your body, smoking, shooting sparks days.